Hey, what's up, everybody? So I wanted to respond to this video that I saw on YouTube of a ex-Chicago gang member who detailed the accounts of how the government slash police would drop crates of guns in inner city communities to increase the violence in those areas. Now, this urban legend, I've heard of this for years, and he said that this started off in the 80s and 90s and continues to today. And look, I'm going to say right now, the government or the United States government has done some shady shit in the past, such as funding to fund the Contras or the anti-communist forces down in Nicaragua. They would allow them to send massive shipments of cocaine into urban areas to raise funds for those anti-communist forces down there. And you guys can go check out Freeway Ricky Ross. But in the case of the government actively dropping hundreds of guns and crates in African American and Hispanic communities, there might have been some cases of that might have happening, but to it being to a point where it's a huge systemic issue, and that's the reason why there's so much violence in these areas. I just don't believe that, because the United States has over 320 million firearms that are owned by civilians. It's very, very easily, when in comparison to other Western countries, to own a firearm. I mean, you literally go through a background check, and that takes like 10, 15 minutes, and there you go, boom. And I mean, sometimes in some states they might have waiting periods, but in most parts of the United States, with the exception of like California, Illinois, and New York, and other like very like liberal states or whatever, you can pretty much buy a gun in 10 to 15 minutes and be on your way. And the way that people who are criminals that do have felony records end up in possession of firearms and things like that is that people who are not a felon will buy lots of firearms in states where guns are much, much cheaper. Like down south, you can get Glocks for 400, $500. And you go up north, they might cost 800, $900, and then if you sell them on the streets, they might cost like 1,200 to $1,300. I live in Ohio, so like I have like 9 firearms. All my guns are I obtain legally, and the guns here I would say are like relatively cheap. Probably not the cheapest, but they're definitely cheap. And what people do is they'll just buy a whole bunch of guns, and they'll go to states where there's a lot of drug violence, and double their money. Anytime that you have a product that is in high demand that a lot of people need in order to do or conduct their business, whether it be legal or illegal, that product is the market is going to cause people to buy guns for very low prices in states. And sometimes a lot of these gun shops are in on it, and they know that when they sell this person after closing hours 10 15 guns for, let's say, 20% off, like, and then they go up to Chicago and they sell it for double the the suggested retail price. I mean, it's a moneymaker. Like when it comes like cigarettes in New York City, I heard that a pack of cigarettes cost about $14 after all the taxes and fees are paid or whatever. And what people do is they'll go to Kentucky, where a pack of cigarettes is like $4 or $5, and they'll take like a box truck of cartons of cigarettes, and they'll go to New York City and double or triple their money. And that's a very profitable illegal business to be in. And the same goes for like arms smuggling. And I mean, I'm not saying that the government hasn't done any shady shit like that, but for it to be the root cause of the violence in these areas, I just don't see that being the case, due to the fact that we have so many legal firearms already at people's disposals. And it's not that hard to pay someone that doesn't have a record to buy firearms and then sell them to someone who does have a record. It's a very, very simple process, and there's a lot of money involved. And a lot of these drug gangs throughout the country have a lot of money to spend on protecting their criminal enterprises, and one of those things they need is to own a lot of firearms. So that's all I really have to say. I'm not saying that the government hasn't done, shady shit in the past, or has even, you know, done things where they might have dropped, guns in black communities or Hispanic communities. But I think it's more likely that you have corrupt police officers who will, probably take guns out of, evidence lockers and things like that, and then sell them for a markup to, the criminals in the communities that they're policing. I just don't see it where they're just randomly dropping boxes of guns in communities, because I feel like by now someone would have, with in the world of where we have so much social media, someone would have probably put that on camera now and said, hey, look, I just found a crate of guns in this this back alleyway, what's going on here. But I just don't see that being like, I just don't believe that's true, to like the way that the guy was explaining. So that's all I gotta say. Subscribe, like, comment. Tell me what you guys think in the comments below. I'm really interested in hearing what you guys have to say, and have a nice evening. Peace.